Okay, we're going to take a slightly different data set for this last segment. And the reason I'm doing this is there's a slightly more complex structure of data. One of the great things about Power BI is it really can work with any format of data. In this case, I've got an Excel spreadsheet with a much more sort of matrix type setup where I've got different data for different years down each row here. And then I've got this kind of stepped approach across the top where I've got the names of cities and then the names of the different product areas that we've made sales of, and then the actual values that we're interested in underneath. And Power BI Desktop really works best with very columnar data. So the idea really is to try and format this so that we've got one column for years, one column for cities, one column for the product categories, and then a column for the values. So let's look at how to do this. So I'm going to go to Get Data again. I'm going to choose Excel spreadsheet for this one and find our multi-level spreadsheet. And I'm just going to connect to the Excel sheet itself. I'm not connecting to any tables. I'm not connecting to any particular object within the spreadsheet, just the raw data on those cells. So you can see here, again, I've got my cities, I've got the product sales, and then I've got years down here. And because we haven't kind of detected any particular columns, we just get column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each name, for each of the columns here. So the first thing we'll do is kind of flip everything around so that we've got the cities and the product categories in their own columns. And to do that, all I need to do is come up to the Transform tab. And I've got a whole range of operations here that apply across tables and across individual columns. I want to change the whole table. I'm going to transpose this table, treat rows as columns and columns as rows. So now you can see I've got cities, I've got the accessories, the product categories, and then each year is a separate column. Let's just push the years up into the column. So I want to use this first row as the names for each of our columns, the headers for each column. There's a few different ways I could do that. I've got an option to click that Use First Row as Headers button up in the ribbon. I can also do it off this table options. This gives me all of the different transformations I can apply to the table as a whole. So I'm going to use the first row as headers. And now you can see I've got one column for 2005, 2006, 2007, etc. Now column 1 and column 2 are almost there. So this is going to be our city. And this is going to be our product category. But I need to sort these nulls out. Now one of the things that I can do is actually fill in any null values with the value just above. And I've got an option here within these column transformations to do that. I can either fill down or fill up if I wanted to, if I had data going the other way. So I'm going to fill this down, and it's just going to take that value and fill it in, copy it over any nulls. Great, so we're getting closer. So I've got my city column sorted out, I've got my category column sorted out. Let's do something about these years. I just want one column for value, and then I want another column which has the repeated data for each year. And to do that, I'm going to pivot all of this data. So I'm going to select the columns that I want to pivot. And then I've got a few different options here. I can either pivot them or unpivot them. We're actually unpivoting in this case. We're taking the currently selected columns and changing them into rows in the data combined with each of the values in the other columns. A little bit difficult to explain, but once I click it, you'll see what's going on. We've now taken each of those columns, one for each year, and pushed them down into a column, in this case called attribute, that's just the name we gave it, and it's repeated the values within the city and category column for each one of these years. So I just rename this to be year. I can now see, okay, so I've got one row, show me the value for each combination of city and category and year, which is exactly the sort of format that makes it really easy to build the reports. So what I need to do now, let's just make my value column a whole number rather than treating it as text. And now I can close and apply this. So it's loaded the data here, and I can quickly start building some visuals. So let's just add a quick line chart showing our change over time. And I can insert a map and show the, oops, it's converted it for me. Let's create a new map and put our cities and the value in here as well. So just by doing a variety of transformations there, I've taken a very strangely formatted set of data, or at least a very unstructured format of data, and turned it into something much more columnar that's much easier for Power BI to work with and much easier for you to start building visualizations and doing your own analysis on. You can see there's some really, really rich transformations that the Power BI desktop has to help you do that.